That we're live to YouTube and that this meeting is being recorded for the purposes of the minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Damon. I thank everyone for their attendance today. We'll start the meeting. Do you have any apologies for absence?
None received, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do you have any declarations of interest? Nobody got a hand up. Thank you. Move on to item number 3 then, which is minutes of the last meeting, pages 5 to 7, to approve as a corrected record for the last meeting. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Happy to move, Chair.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Lilly. Okay. All those for? Any against? Any abstentions? Oh, thank you. Move on to item number 4 then, which is the Healthy Partnership working to consider the progress of the Council's partnership. And I believe we have, let's move to the pages. It is page 8 to 16 in your pack.
And we should have Tris Burdett joining us, Chair, at this stage.
She's in the waiting room, Chair, if you'd like me to admit them.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Tris. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
Is it okay if I call you Tris? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Do you need any introductions to people and communities, or are you okay?
Yeah, no, I think I pretty much know of everybody.
Quite handy, we've all got the names at the bottom anyway. Thank you for so long, Chris. Thank you for the report. I was just going to get you to highlight any key points within the report, and then if it's okay with you, take some questions at the end, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you want me to share the report, or Damon, do you want to share it? Have you got access to it?
It's agenda item number 4. We've all got it in our packs, so we should all have a hard copy. If anyone wants, I'm happy to share it on screen, but apart from that, we've all got a copy anyway. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Then I'll just refer to my copy. Just bear with me. Thank you. Yeah. So today I'm here just to talk about the Healthy North East Derbyshire Partnership and a review of what's been progressed over the last 12 months. For those of you not familiar with the partnership, it is fully funded by Public Health at Derbyshire County Council, and is chaired by the localities lead for the area. Our role is I'm the Partnership Development Officer, and I work in the Partnership Strategy team here at North East. And so we manage the funding and managing the commissioning of the projects on the wishes of the partnership. The key membership includes various services from North East and from Derbyshire County Council, Bricknell Homes, the Clinical Commissioning Group, Chronic Care Network, and the voluntary sector. The group itself, the partnership, was established in 2015, so it's been going for some time. In the last few years, the partnership has had an allocation of just over £69,500, which is, like I say, it has been annual. On top of that, Public Health will also give us discrete pots of funding for specific activities, which will be ring-fenced for certain things. So more recently, we received over £50,000 for Social Connectedness project, which I will talk about later. One thing as well to say is that each of the districts and boroughs within the county has their own health partnership. And so this is the model that Public Health have developed, that they devolve the funding to these individual partnerships. So if I just move on to the health priorities, the main driver, the main priority for this particular partnership is older people, and about maintaining that independence in the home for as long as possible, and also trying to support people with long-term health conditions. Saying that though, it is underpinned by 3 other priorities, which is about building health communities, building social capital, getting that sustainability in, reducing wider determinants of health, obviously building healthy lifestyles as well, and enabling people to access effective health and social care. But as I previously said, it's about kind of older people primarily. What I need to say is obviously COVID has had an impact on the activity that we've supported this last year. Most projects have been able to adapt, but obviously completely unforeseen. So that has had an impact on what we've been able to achieve. You'll see within the report, there's the table lists the projects that we're currently supporting with an update on each. So I'll kind of just focus in on the bigger projects, if that's all right, rather than go through one by one. Yeah, if I can draw your attention to the small grants scheme, which is on the second part of the table. This is ring-fenced money in addition that comes from county, and this is to fund community groups, voluntary groups in the district, obviously with a physical health and mental health focus. One of the things that's happened this year is we've had a low take-up because groups have not been meeting. The groups that have been running and that have had sort of COVID-specific activities have been able to access the COVID-19 Recovery Fund, organised and distributed by Derbyshire County Council. So what we've done with the small grants is we're rolling the money forward and merging that with the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which that was particularly focused on mental health. But to enable groups to have easier access to the funding, the pots are going to be merged together, and this is an approach that's going to be used in Chesterfield and Bolsover as well. Derbyshire Voluntary Action administer the fund, and they administer for Bolsover and Chesterfield. So we have quite a good sort of like linking and overview, particularly when we've got groups and agencies that maybe Chesterfield centre based, but they do support North East residents. So with DVA kind of overseeing the 3, that's really helpful. The community development worker I'll come on to, because I've got a section in the report about that. The other thing I just wanted to mention was walking into communities. Now, I understand you received a report from Kelly Massey at the last meeting, in which obviously she talked about the service generally, but the walking into communities officers we fund through the health partnership. And obviously, pre-COVID, they were doing lots of good work in terms of physical activity. A lot of that had moved online, and in between the lockdown periods, they were able to start running some of the sessions again in a COVID-safe environment. But obviously, that has been affected. But the aim is to get going with that once we're allowed. The other project I wanted to talk to you about was Feeling Connected. Some of you may be aware of a recent press release with regards to this project. Again, this was a discrete pot of money that we received from Public Health, that the partnership received from Public Health. And we joined up with the Chesterfield Health Partnership. And the premise of this project is to get people, feeling more socially connected. Pre-COVID, a lot of work was done around gathering stats and information, just looking to see where the gaps were. And then, of course, the world changed in March 2020. So momentum had slowed down a little bit during the course of last year, but an action plan has been produced recognising the need for COVID-related sort of COVID recovery work. And so now what that project is aiming to do is there's like a communications aspect to it, which is about raising the importance of feeling socially connected. And then there's also a plan to have targeted activity within the communities to help support. Some of it's COVID related and some of it's more broader than that, more about, you know, sort of like general life after COVID. So that's quite a significant project. And then just to touch upon the Together events, the premise of this project was to try and bring residents together with key agencies and services. And so it's a bit of a kind of a meet and mingle event. We successfully held 3 in Killamarsh, Danesmore and North Wingfield. But unfortunately, the last 2 that were supposed to be held, which was Wingworth and Eckington, we had to cancel. The previous events were well attended and we had good feedback. So in order to sort of try and fill the gap of the last 2 events, a directory was produced of those services and agencies that would normally attend the Together events. We managed to get 2,500 booklets printed in the end, and they were distributed in Eckington and Wingworth. We're hoping we can try and do that again later on in the year, and because holding an event of that nature is not going to happen anytime soon. Just to move on to the community development worker, this is a fully funded post through the partnership, but we the officer actually sits with us in the partnership team. We've had different people in the role, but the post has been established for over 5 years now. One of the key achievements of that post is to maintain a community health champion network. And so this is about encouraging people to volunteer in their local communities, obviously for their own health and mental health well-being, but also to benefit the local community as well. And over the years, the community development worker has been able to support volunteers to help establish youth groups and participate in sort of like local events, parish events. Quite a few volunteers are involved in food banks in certain areas, helping neighbours, friends, and reducing that social isolation. And one of the achievements was the Sherland Community Cafe, which was started and became self-sustaining and was being ran by volunteers in the community. Unfortunately, that has stopped because of COVID, but you know, at some point it'd be nice to think that that could be up and running again, you know, restrictions permitting. But that was a well attended, you know, 25 people on average a month attending that. So it was something that, you know, the community needed, and the community led that. Obviously, within the last 12 months, you know, the people that are CHCs, a lot of them have had to shield themselves, but they've not been able to go out. But what the community development worker has been doing is keeping in touch with people remotely, providing information, signposting to training if anybody wants to do it online. And what we wanted to do last year was a celebration event to celebrate the achievements of the volunteers, but we had to cancel it. It was meant to be held in June. So we're hoping we can still run with something at some point, because it would be a shame to not, you know, to not celebrate the successes of these individuals. You know, some of them have been volunteering for quite some time. So one thing I do want to say is because of, you know, the world's been a bit different for us all these last 12 months, the worker was part of the COVID response team for the council. So actually conducted welfare calls to residents, helped with the delivery of medicines, and more recently has helped with processing their business grants that the partnerships team have been responsible for administering some of them. As you can imagine, there are various partnerships and groups out there with a slightly different focus, but we are linked in with a joint financial inclusion group. So this is, again, the Chesterfield, Bolsover and North East Health Partnerships. This was started back in 2019, but over the last year it's been, and the focus has been about communication and informing residents of where they can access services, not just financial services to be fair, but, you know, health and well-being. And you may recall in the winter edition of the news, there was like a one-page article with various, you know, helpful numbers and things. In Chesterfield and Bolsover, they actually did a leaflet drop, but we decided to put an article in the news instead. So moving forward, that group will be looking, obviously COVID, you know, is inevitably going to be a driver for this, but the partnership's quite wide. So hopefully it will, you know, minimise the duplication. We can share the knowledge, learning and understanding moving forward. The Clay Cross Obesity Group is not directly linked to the Health Partnership, but people that sit on the Health Partnership are also part of the group. I appreciate last year you received a presentation with regards to the work of that group, and I think Kelly probably touched upon it in her presentation last month. So I won't dwell too much on that. But there are links, but it's more about the kind of the officers playing that kind of role in terms of informing the partnership. There's the Place Alliance, which covers North East and Bolsover, and they have recently established a mental health subgroup as well. So this is quite, the Place Alliance is quite strategic, led by the CCG, but the partners are quite wide. And again, I think it's recognised that the voluntary sector and local groups can play quite a key role in the preventative agenda for health rather than the kind of the reactive. So that I think having those partners around the table with the Place Alliance will hopefully help to kind of streamline future services, future projects. The Older People Strategy, I just wanted to quickly mention it. Obviously, the North East Derbyshire Older People Strategy is a council-owned strategy. It's not partnerships, but there is a link. And what we're hoping is that because the overarching priority is older people, that we can utilise the partners around the table in terms of being able to commission activity to support older people and independence in the home in the long term. The future, obviously it's a little bit unknown at the moment, but one of the projects that we're just about to progress, again, is funded through the Health Partnership, through Public Health, is a Digital Connect project. So on the back of recognition that people, particularly older people, have embraced technology to access services, to speak to family and friends during the last 12 months. There's recognition that there are still some barriers that are stopping people from doing more or accessing more services. The recent questionnaire we did as a council, it's the Digital Services Survey. Interestingly, that threw up the three main barriers people felt was lack of skills, confidence and security. So although this is a health partnership project, it would be silly of us to ignore what the results of that survey were telling us. So what we're hoping is that this project will get more people digitally included, to help with accessing services, social interaction, breaking down those social isolation barriers, and almost kind of like carrying on with the momentum people have gained as a result of, you know, moving online, of sort of being forced to move online over the last year. The final thing to mention, although it's still in the pipeline and we don't have any detail, there might be some ring-fenced funding from public health with regards to mental health and possibly with young children. So whether that's channeled through the health partnerships directly, I'm not entirely sure. There's not much detail out there yet. But I think this is again on the recognition that the longer term impact that COVID has had on mental health. So yeah, so hopefully over the next few months we'll get more detail about that. So that's it from me. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tris. Very in-depth report there. Has anyone got any questions or comments they'd like to raise? I can only see one hand at the moment. That's Councillor Welton. Your mic's off.
Yeah, I think Councillor Lilly was ahead of me by a whisker.
Sorry, let me have a look. Councillor Lilly, sorry, you're on the other screen. Your mic's off, Councillor Lilly. It's still off.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Basically, I'm proud to be suggesting that I was at the beginning of this project, at its very inception, and I think the sentiments at that time was to try and build something that's robust and flexible to such an extent whereby we can contain and adapt to any contemporary issues that arise, which they have, as you can see with the catalogue of different things that we're contending with at this moment in time. From what I've seen, that robustness is still there, the will is still there. Obviously, the functions of economics and whatnot is going to have a massive impact on what's happening. Plus, I think one of the possible drawbacks that we might get from the position with COVID is that people are reluctant to get out there back into the environment and into the community because of the fear of the unknown sort of thing. But I think because it's being built, the robustness and flexibility is being built into the system, and obviously you can see just by looking at the catalogue how successful it's been. Any emergencies that can come along, including people sort of being standoffish and not wanting to put themselves in the firing line in respect of what's going on around them. I think the more we can do to contain and push the flexibility and the strength of this partnership, the better it can be. Just one question though, Tris. Right at the very beginning of this project, we'd got involvement with the CCGs. Now, right at the inception, the CCGs were in a flexible mode. They were moving, shifting. There were all sorts of different changes. We've got different hubs being built and demolished. We've got hubs disappearing. One hub, then 3 hubs, and then I'm not up to speed on where we are at this minute with regards to the CCGs and their involvement and depth of this. It'd be nice to see that the CCGs have actually pulled back in and pulled back together, got a decent grounding, and are now contributing in the fashion that we hoped right from the beginning they would be able to. Do you see any grounds for that?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say in probably within the last year or two, the CCGs have become more involved. We have regular representation from them on our health partnership, and you know, we have a seat at the table at the Place Alliance as well, sort of like with a North East hat on and a partnership hat as well. So I think it's that, yeah, I understand what you're saying in terms of the concerns that the partnership had a few years ago, particularly at the start, and the engagement wasn't consistent, but it is now, and so it's you know, much better, and that kind of relationship is there now.
Okay, thank you, Tris. I'll come to Councillor Welton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm going to start with my conclusion question, and I'll track back and you'll see why I'm asking it. Is this an appropriate sort of project or projects that should be put into this Vision Derbyshire thing that is being pushed by the county leader and everything? And the reason why I'm asking that is I'd start by looking at what's in here, and to me, I'd be saying public health, NHS, county children's services, county adult services. That's where the responsibility lies. And when I'm looking at it from a scrutiny district point of view, I'm always keen that we look at what's in our area of responsibility. And when we bring something, we're looking to analyse, look at the objectives, see what works, what doesn't work, looking at whether the performances work, can we do things better? So this is something, and I think that I apologise for taking the phrase that maybe out of context, minimising duplication. So why are we the agent or manager for this? There may be very, very good reasons for it, but if it is something that crosses or has to cross all those different boundaries of Chesterfield Borough Council and the county and everything, is this something that should be put forward for this Vision Derbyshire?
I have to say I'm not too familiar with the detail of Vision Derbyshire, unfortunately, but from my understanding, I wasn't here at the start, but the principle of each borough and district having a health partnership, it was something that Public Health wanted to do to enable partners at a local level that know their communities to be able to adapt the funding. And so that local approach was adopted across the county. In terms of the linkages to Vision Derbyshire, I'd have to go back and have a look at the detail of that. That said, I know that there are members on the health partnership that are or familiar with Vision Derbyshire, and I'm sure if there was possible duplication, that would be, that would be brought to the table. But I can certainly go, I can go and find out for you should you want me to.
Yeah, just very, very quickly. But I mean, what I'm interested in is obviously is accountability and how we improve things, and you improve things where you've got responsibility for that particular area. Vision Derbyshire, we've all got very different views on it. It's very embryonic, but we've been told that is to consider things like climate change, environmental policies that do cross all these boundaries. That's why I'm asking if it's something for that, because otherwise I'd be asking things like, where's the accountability for the partnership in everything you do? Who actually says whether these individual things have been a success or not, and how do we come to a conclusion on that?
I probably suppose it's fair to say, with Public Health being the key funder, when the projects and the ideas are commissioned through the partnership, and then it's the partnership that has that scrutiny as well. So the successes or not are reported to the partnership, and we're kind of the mechanism where we just kind of manage the funding on behalf of the partnership, but the accountability is with the partnership, and then ultimately back to Public Health at the county.
Okay, thank you, Tris. Does that answer your questions, Councillor Welton?
Yeah, because I mean, it's a common theme about, sort of just, I mean, these are all really worthy, they're all really good things to do. It's just knowing that they are somewhere, there's democratic accountability. We are a scrutiny committee. If it's not us, who is it to ensure, are things being done the right way? Should we do things differently? It's all of that, really.
Thank you. I'm looking for anyone else got their hand up.
Chair, Councillor Barker's indicating he'd like to speak.
Yes,
and Councillor Gay-Mesrini.
Thank you. Councillor.
Is it me first? Sorry, you want to go first? Okay, yeah. Just following on from Richard, really. I see your point, Richard. I can get that. So the question is it the county council's responsibility then to really hold this partnership to account through their scrutiny process, through Public Health, I think there's a scrutiny people one or a health one at the county. Would it be that scrutiny committee at county that sort of scrutinises your or the partnership's effectiveness? Is that, am I right in that? Did that make sense? I don't know if
yes. Yeah. Well, yes, because with public health funding all the locality partnerships across the county, ultimately that responsibility would lie with them. But obviously what the approach and the reason why they wanted to have the locality approach was to make sure that partners at a local level could adapt to issues residents were facing, conscious that not all the wards in the district, never mind in the county, have the same issues with regards to kind of health, the kind of geographical barriers that some areas have that others don't. So I think that was the whole premise of establishing these locality partnerships, was to enable that, rather than it all being administered centrally from Matlock, from county. But yes, ultimately, I suppose with it being public health, it goes back to them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor Gomez-Rini, I believe you had your hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm just having a look at page 13 of the report. First thing to point out, 1.26 with the mental health. I think that's fantastic. I was pleased to see that, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye out on the details released on that. Just looking at point 4, sorry. So alternative options and reasons for rejection. So alternative options were covered in the Cabinet report on the 18th of February 2016. Apologies if I'm making myself sound a bit silly. I suppose what I was just wanting to ask, and I think really it sort of ties into Councillor Welton and Councillor Barker, but is this something that the Cabinet would review on a yearly basis? So would they have a look at, for example, these types of reports, what's happened each year, and what the plans are moving forward? And I suppose probably more importantly, the sort of things in place with COVID and restrictions, how we're going to work around them.
Historically, there has been a report taken to Cabinet about the health partnership. I think one was meant to go last year, but it was it didn't go because of what was happening with COVID. But I wasn't around in 2016, so I don't know kind of the background in terms of the conversations had within our council. But I suppose ultimately, yes, if this is something that to go and inform Cabinet, like I say, historically that has been done before, but I suppose it's quite I'll say it's not an unusual position, but obviously it's external funding that is benefiting North East residents, but absolutely there needs to be that degree of are we doing the right things for the right reasons? I suppose is the main question, and I'd like to think so.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Gomez-Rini? Thank you. I believe we've got Councillor Welton and Councillor Birkin.
Just very, very quickly picking all of this, I think it is important that any initiative, and it's very worthy in everything that's been done, has a relevant body that looks over it at some stage. Now, whether that's district cabinet, whether that's district, it seems it's more likely going to be, as Councillor Barker said, it is county scrutiny could come in if they want to, they don't have to. So I think it's important that this ends up somewhere with somebody being able to look at it and saying, yeah, it's all brilliant and it's doing it the right way from a political democratic objective over the officers. So that's my final point on it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Birkin.
Thank you, Chair. I think on that last point of Councillor Welton's, is there a two-part approach? Obviously, county are responsible for sharing out the various finance that's been made available to them. So they will have a responsibility to make sure that that is used properly. But I think, as Tricia said, it's been the tasks themselves have been delegated, if that's the right word, down to us at local level, because we've got more intimate knowledge of what we would need at local level. And as she said herself, there are variations within that, even within districts, let alone across the county. So I think there's that two-part approach there. The overview will be county, who have got the cash in the first place, but then ourselves and maybe our cabinet, as well as we are doing now, to make sure that that money that we have got is being spent properly in the to cover the problems that we've got within our area. And coming on from that, sorry, my question is: it seems to be a very, very well coordinated project covering loads of opportunities here. I was trying to scribble down some extras as Trish was reporting there. Trish, do you find a danger that there's so much to do that there's a danger that maybe some of the issues will just drop off the end of the line?
I suppose it's difficult. Obviously, it's not a massive amount of money for the district, but it's clearly better than nothing. And so I think with the overarching priority being older people, which is something that that the partnership agreed, and I suppose that's the guide for us. Because of who we've got on the partnership, we do have people from public health, that know the stats, that know the details of the current health issues, obviously on a county-wide basis, but on a locality basis. So I think it's utilising that partnership approach to make sure we understand what the issues are, and we do our best to react. And it's not. I think it's important to say that it's not just about the money as well. It's the partnership working and the networking at the meetings where you've got people. I'm doing this project, I'm doing this activity, and somebody says, "Oh, I know someone who can help," or "I can refer," or all of a sudden we're joining up and avoiding that duplication. So it's not just about kind of funding activity. It's broader than that as well. And hopefully, because of that, we try not to lose too much.
Okay, Tris, thank you. If there's no more questions.
There's a question from Councillor Lilly, Chair.
Just 1 second. Yes, Councillor Lilly.
Yeah, basically, when it was first set up, all of this sort of criteria was put together to make some sort of guiding principles. I think the main principles that we worked along was the question of the 6 W's: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I think those principles have held the thing together, so that you're not just looking at the funding area. Of course, it's an important area, but it's who's going to do what, when, why, and how. And it's all got to fill in to justify the end sort of justification, as to say, yes, the project should be included, should go ahead, it should give it a chance, and whatever else. Some principles have been lost along the way for whatever reason, and some of the partnerships have dropped to the wayside. That's why I question with regards to the CCGs and its input, because I see that as a very important area. But I still believe that the principles of the 6 W's held together as they were initially wanted to be or intended to be in the first instance, can give a strong and sure grounding to make sure that this project carries on, gets stronger, gets more flexible, more robust, and it does what we want it to do, and that is to achieve what those people out there want of it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lee. Just if there's no more further questions or comments, Tris, I'm gonna just bear me a second till I flip through. No. I'm going to thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming today. and thank you for your report. You're welcome to stay. Obviously, you're also welcome to leave us.
Thank you. No, I will go. But no, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to come and bring you the progress of the health partnership. And obviously, with it being such unusual times for us all, you know, there have been some nice stories. So, but you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay. If we move on to item number 5, which is the parks and green spaces, which should be included in your information packs. So it's pages 17 to 23. And I believe we've got Darren Mitchell joining us from, he's the street scene manager. I don't know if is he here already or is he in the
He's in the waiting room, Chair. Would you like me to admit him?
Yes, please. Thank you. It's popped up on my screen, but
I'll tell you what, put it there while I sit on the table. See the corner. Yeah.
he's come up on the screen. Camera's not on yet, though.
Good afternoon. Lots of IT difficulties, but I think can you hear us and see us?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Technology's fine, we know how to work it.
Okay, we'll just give you a second.
Okay.
I don't think I was expecting yourself, Steve. I thought you were on holiday.
I was supposed to be in, I would be in the Bahamas now, but it got deferred, and I was intending taking the time off, but other things, events have dictated that I've not been off. So, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. And we've got both of you this afternoon then.
Yeah. Pain and panic.
Yeah. Okay, Steve and Darren, you don't mind if I call you by your first name, Steve?
No, of course not.
No problem. Thank you very much. I think you know everyone in the communities committee, so we'll just carry on, which is item number 5, which is a look at the report that you've sent to us. Thank you very much for the report. I know I've got a few, sorry, the spreadsheet, not the report. I know I've got a few questions, but I'll open it up to everyone else first, if they've got any questions about the spreadsheet. If there's none, I shall start. I can see Oscar Gomez-Rini, your hand was up. Yes, Oscar. Sorry.
Go on, I was willing to let you go first, but go on, since you're hi both. So yeah, thanks for sending us the information over. It was more than useful. I suppose the first question that I've got, I was having a look at the inspections with the parks, and I was just wanting some clarity because I'd done the maths, and I could see that 2021 we spent £18,522.63, and with the parks, I mean they're all, you know, obviously there's no two figures the same that I can see. And I was just wanting to know, because I understand that we do the inspections in-house. So I was just wanting to ask about, obviously, the costing, you know, how it's worked out, where the figures are from, etc. So yeah, if you're able just to sort of give us some information on that.
The materials themselves, the prices. I thought things like materials and parts.
This is the inspection expense.
Steve, this is.
Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, inspection costs vary. It depends on the size of the site and the amount of equipment on each site. It could be that certain sites have got large areas of tarmac which we have to sweep and clear as part of it. It's not just the play equipment itself, it's this surrounding area as well. So you could have such a large site like I think Charlie Park is one of the higher ones. Because it's such a bigger site, there's more time spent there by the individual teams undertaking the inspections and actually doing the litter picking while they're there and cleaning the bins.
Sweeping the surface.
Yeah, and sweeping the surfaces.
So can I just clarify then, the actual inspection, that includes emptying bins and cleaning the area?
Yeah.
Is that...
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we do it, so is it based on obviously the man hours as well that's put in then, so based on the amount of time that they're there, so i.e., you know, cost per member of staff at the park?
Yeah, what we base it on is we've got a standard minute value for all our operations. So each piece of play equipment has a time allocated to it sorry, yeah, we're getting a lot of interference at this end. Yeah, so it's the time so if you go a set of swings, it may take 5 minutes for him to undertake an inspection regime. But while he's there, then also might be the time to sweep the surface underneath the swings. So it's all allocated out. Each set of item of play equipment is allocated a time. And then there's the surrounds, the fencing surrounds, which majority of playgrounds are either fenced in, or it could be that if it's on a grass there in a larger area, they'll immediately litter pick all that surrounding area.
If I can just add to that as well, in an earlier information set that we provided Scrutiny, we gave an individual sheet for each particular play site that set out how many numbers of swings, slides, multiplayer units, and they have the time values, and at the bottom it tells you the amount of time that's allocated for cleaning, emptying bins, inspecting slides, swings, multiplayer units. So that's typically the staff hours that's allocated to that particular site.
Steve, just on that then, how often do we inspect each site?
Monthly.
Monthly. Other than skate parks, they're inspected weekly.
Am I right just to ask another chair?
Yes, certainly.
Yes, I was just going to ask, because I know that we were saying that obviously we've not got, I don't think there is a budget for parks, is there, with the council? So, I mean, I'm assuming obviously with inspections, you know, we don't have any set budget. It's just a case of however much it costs per year is you know, the amount that we end up spending, if you like.
Not exactly. So some years ago, we used to have an individual budget for playgrounds, and we had individual budgets for a number of activities. But as we started rationalising management and administration arrangements, all the grounds maintenance activities were assimilated into one overall budget. So all the material subjective budgets in various budget cost centres were brought into one, and all the salaries and labour and vehicle costs were all brought into one. So whereas before we probably had 20 or 30 individual service function activity budgets, we've now predominantly got one, where all the staffing, etc., it's one overall grounds maintenance operating account, which makes it very effective and efficient from a accountancy point of view, but from a management information point of view, it's difficult to drill it back down.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any points or questions? I can see Councillor Birkin. I think you're next.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, gentlemen, where you get your standard minutes from, and how often are they updated, please?
The standard minute values were produced in, wow, where would we be? The mid to late 2000s. No, probably the early to mid 2000s. We had consultants in to actually develop these, because there is a lacking of this type of information throughout the public sector. And we have shared this with other authorities in the past. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the grounds maintenance activities were what we would call unmeasured. There was no realistic allowed time value. So we did, over the course of several years, get time measurement values so that we could calculate a fair day's wage for a fair day's pay. And the former compulsory competitive tendering arrangements had a massive influence in us putting those in place to ensure that we were competitive and efficient, obviously.
Thank you. Oh, let me see. Is there anyone else? Any questions? There's no one else with a hand up, Steve or Darren. So I'll just ask a couple of things. Of all the parks we've listed, all 27 I counted, if that's about right with yourself, they're all owned by North East Derbyshire. I've counted that there are 4 within the projected lifespan of the park. So of the 27, only 4 fall in the projected lifespan. So is there any I don't know how I put it. Is there any budget set at the moment to bring these parks back up to date?
Not from a capital point of view, no. When we talk about projected lifespan, I don't think we've put in general lifespans on. We've just assumed some for this exercise that we're undertaking with yourselves.
It would mean like when you purchase a park initially, the installer will give you sort of like 10 years on wet pour or 20 years on wet pour, or if it's metal equipment, they'll guarantee the equipment for sort of like 20 years. So that was the lifespan I was looking at. And again, it brings in a couple of questions. Some of them, I can't remember which one it was. It was Quarry Road Play Area. That's got a projected lifespan of between 4 and 27 years, which I thought was a little bit a little strange.
May I respond to that, Councillor?
Yes.
The reason behind that is there has been various bits and bobs of new equipment put on Quarry Lane site over a course of the last probably 15 years from developers 106 money. So where we've had a 106 funding being provided to upgrade that site, a new piece of equipment's gone on. So that's probably why there's a different scale of what was there before and what we've upgraded and added to that site.
Okay, thank you. Let me just go look at my notes. Just touching on the 106 money, if you don't mind, Darren and Steve. I've spoke to planning, and at the moment we've got approximately 25 new major housing developments going ahead this year, and they're predicting between 5 and 10 new play areas being built this year. I mean, what's the scope within the current system to maintain those or look after them? The way I understand it is, once they're put in, they're then handed over to the district council that become our responsibility.
Well, it depends on who's the landowner, because they don't just come to the district. The 106 may also fund parish sites. It's dependent on where the development is and the locality to a existing site, which we believe it'd be more beneficial to upgrading, and we work closely with parish councils on that. So a lot of the sites that we are going to be getting are all going to be parish council sites, which we're upgrading for the parish.
Can you just explain that a little bit more then? So the 106 money would upgrade a parish site, but we'd still be responsible for it. Is that right?
No. The responsibility still lies with the parish council, but because we're maintaining the site, we get a commuted sum for maintenance for a period of 10 years. So instead of us recharging the parish back for that, we'll do the maintenance on that site for a period of 10 years up until that money is run out. Or if the parish is a site where they look after their own equipment, obviously then that maintenance commuted sum will go to the parish direct.
If you recall at the last scrutiny meeting, we talked about, with all these new developments arising, there was a lot of little insignificant play areas that were popping up. So through the actual planning process, when planning consult with us on developments, if we believe that there's an over provision in a particular area, we may say to planning, well, we don't particularly want a new play area on this particular estate. We would much prefer to have a community sum or 106 monies to invest in other facilities in that locality, and that would explain the variance in the Quarry Road play area, where you've got 4 to 27 years, because it is a large site, and monies we've received from other developments in that area, we've put other new equipment into that site to develop it further and make them a more wide and varied site with greater play value, a more strategic site.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any more questions? Just having a look through. I don't think there is. I think that's could be everything, Darren and Steve. Okay. Thank you for the report and thank you for attending today.
Okay, pleasure. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Well done, Steve, with the recycling, mate. You did a good job.
Thank you. We get in there, hopefully.
Slowly.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 6 then, which is the forward plan of executive decisions. The links on the page. Does anyone have any? This is just to be noted. Is that correct, Sue?
Yes, Chair. It's we have it every time, but obviously, if there's any queries members have, I can pass them on to the governance team to chase up.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any queries or points they wish to make? No. Thank you. Well, go on to item number 7, which is the work programme, which is page 24 to 28. Again, I don't think there's anything particular in here. It's again, just to be noted. Is that correct, Sue?
Yes, Chair. It's just setting out what you'll do at your last meeting. Obviously, you'll be finalising your report that you're going to decide on today. And then the other 2 main items are the review of community safety partnership, which you require statutorily to do at this committee once a year. And then you'll have Steve back actually to do the update on the street scene service and how it's been doing on things like recycling.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. Does anyone have any points or questions they wish to raise? I can't see. I don't think so. Thank you. Does anyone have any additional urgent items that you wish to raise? Well, quick look. No. Thank you. Which brings us on to item number 9, which is date of the next meeting, which is the 14th of May at 1:30.
Okay. Chair, can I just confirm? Sorry, with that, I'm just thinking, are we still expecting that to be over Zoom?
Do you want me to respond, Chair?
Yes, please, Sue.
I anticipate it will be, Chair. Obviously, you'd hope sometime in the near future that we'll be starting to get back to normal, but that's quite at the sort of the end of the period before, obviously, June, where we're hoping a lot more will open. So at this moment, unless governance know any better, I would expect it to be on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Sue. If there's no other further,
I can't make that. I've got, so give my apologies. It's a Friday. Thanks. I've got people in.
Thank you. Item number 10. I move that the public be excluded from the meeting during discussion of the following items because of business to avoid the disclosure to them of any exempt information as defined in paragraph 1, paragraph 1, part 1, schedule 12A, the Local Government Act 1972. I believe we can now finish the live stream. Is that correct?